Welcome. My name is Jose Melendez, Campaign Director for the Taxpayer Protection Project at TPPF, and today we're talking taxpayer empowerment. Specifically, we're going to zero in on the unethical practice of taxpayer-funded lobbying. So what is taxpayer-funded lobbying? Simply put, it's when governments lobby government for more government. Far too often, cities and counties and their hired guns come to your capital to lobby against you and your interests and the interests of our fellow Texans. On that note, I'm delighted to introduce my guest, a freedom fighter and the newest addition to the TPPF team, Ben Crockett. Ben, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jose. Glad to be here.
So, Ben, before joining the foundation, you intimately engaged in the legislative process during the 89th Texas legislature. Why don't we start off by you telling us your story and how you engaged the legislative process? Kind of tell us what you anticipated that being like and what really happened.
Yeah, most of what I thought I knew, I didn't. I got my civics from Schoolhouse Rock. I'm just a bill on Capitol Hill. But what that cute little cartoon doesn't tell you is when your bill gets swarmed by a bunch of taxpayer-funded lobbyists, hired guns for municipalities out there that not only are advocating against what citizens may want, but are actually actively advocating against their citizens. Let me take you back to last fall. Mm-hmm. I'm a student at Texas A&M in student government, and me and a few of my friends get together and draft a piece of model legislation, which, for anyone who's engaged in the legislative process, it's exciting to see an idea you have get put on the page. And we didn't know what we were doing. So we drive up to Austin for an interim hearing of the local government committee. And truth be told, it's surprising we even figured out how to use the kiosk. But we registered and we started to give our presentation to the local government committee. And as we were presenting our idea, Chairman Betancourt said, now, are you on double secret probation by the city? And as of that moment, we were. It was just a little bit after that we heard different things that were being said about our bill, that it was discussed in a city council meeting, and that the paid lobbyist was on the issue. Now, luckily, we had some great support from two Aggies and a Longhorn who championed the bill, Senator Betancourt, Representative Vasut, and Senator Sarah Eckhart. But after it was filed as SB 1567 and months of late nights and more gas station energy drinks than I care to admit, it was finally signed into law. But I remember looking at the witness list for one of those hearings on SB 1567. Texans spoke in favor of the bill, and some Texans spoke opposed to the bill, which is fairly common. But something that Schoolhouse Rock didn't prepare me for was cities lobbying against their own residents. It's kind of like a lawyer. It's kind of like hiring a lawyer to sue yourself. Mm-hmm. And we're all paying for the bill.
So when you showed up to testify and meet with these lawmakers on your legislation, can you zero in on what it was like, what that resistance was like, what you saw and what you faced with these taxpayer-funded lobbyists?
Yeah, only in government do you pay people to argue against you and then call it representation. It was a full court press. We were faced by the standard opposition letters written by city officials, testimony from taxpayer-funded lobbyists, and I even would add lobbyist-induced member confusion. And it just surprised me how well-funded these local hired guns are. Millions of dollars each session in total are spent. And simply put, my fellow students and I were armed with free speech. They had paid speech. And we all fit the bill.
Final question. So was there a moment that really drove home for you where you said to yourself, these local governments are out here against me using my own tax dollars?
Yeah, it was a city council meeting, actually, in which the municipality had invited their hired gun, their taxpayer-funded lobbyists, to give a presentation, and they went through the city's legislative agenda. And there's really no clearer example of, oh my goodness, the city which I've grown up in my entire life is actively paying lobbyists to lobby against their own residents, myself included. Then when they actually say, so what we're doing, is we're lobbying against this piece of legislation. That was a relatively clear moment. And if a city says they're doing something with taxpayer money, I tend to take their word for it. And as I was there at that meeting, I want to say, hey, pick on someone your own size. What is this, Texas A&M students versus local government lobbyists? We were probably too naive to know the odds against our bill and what our legislative chances were, and that's probably part of the reason why it worked and why it passed. But what I've always believed is we should be governed by the consent of the governed, not the consent of governments, and perhaps that's all those Schoolhouse Rock videos I grew up watching.
Well, Ben, thank you so much for your engagement, and thank you for joining the show.
Well, thank you for having me.